Hey everyone, it's me, Andrea Panzica, aka Miss Andrea. I'm a teaching artist with KidSmart, and I'm back with another Art Apart video. Today I'm going to show you how to ink the comic that we drew last week. When we make comics, our first step is to make a sketch. Our sketch is like a blueprint for what our comic will eventually become. So today we're ready to trace our lines, shade, and color our comics. So I'm going to briefly go over what each of these mean, and then I'm going to show you what they mean by working on the comic I drew last time. You'll remember when we made our sketch, we kind of pressed lightly with our pencil. So now what we want to do is go over those lines to make them darker so that they're easier to see. If you have a felt tip pen, that works best. But if you don't, that's okay. A gel pen, a ballpoint pen, or even a sharpened pencil will work just as well. Next, we're going to talk about shade. Now, really I could make a whole video just about shading, but in short, what we're going to be doing is filling in side of our lines with ink or color to make them appear to have depth, so they look a little more 3D. For example, I made this little circle, and you can see that I actually put a shadow underneath, which is something you can do. Where it's darker, the lines are thicker and closer together. Where it's lighter, they are farther apart and thinner. So that, in a nutshell, is shading. Finally, color. Coloring, I've noticed, is a lot of students' favorite part, and I understand why. I didn't put an order for these because depending on what you use to color your comic will kind of determine what order you do these steps. For example, if you're going to use crayon, colored pencil, things like that are kind of waxy, you'll want to trace your lines, shade, and then color. But if you have watercolors, you probably want to do that first before you go over your lines. That way, if you use ink, the water won't make the ink run. So I'm going to let you take a look at me working on my comic last time, and I will see you in a bit. All right, so I am starting the process of tracing my lines. So I'm not redrawing anything, I'm just going over the lines I already drew. As you can see, I'm taking my time, so for the sake of us not being here all day, I'm gonna speed it up. All right, next step is to shade. So I'm going to be filling in areas such as the window frame with black, so the drawing just seems to have more depth, more interest. It'll make things around it stand out more, as you will see. So now I'm on to the last step, which is to add color. So in comics, we don't really have to color everything, and we might not want to just because we have so many different panels. I have 8 panels in this comic. What I want to do is draw the reader's attention to things that I think are important. In my story, the cat moves from the window to the cat toy, and then finally goes to sleep in the cat bed. You could color the wall and the floor and everything else, but I'm going to stick with those 3 things because they're important and I want the reader to notice them. One more thing to keep in mind is that you can shade with color. Well, if you want something to appear darker, you press harder with your pencil. And if you want something more maybe hazy and far away seeming, you could not press as hard. All right, so as you're working, you can make adjustments. I've decided to add a baseboard, so I'm going to be doing some more shading to my work. And finally, I am adding lines to the cat. This is sort of like shading the cat because I am, through these lines you can kind of tell what its body looks like, where its curves are when I get to the tail. I think you can see it the best. So I just showed you how to use colored pencils to ink your comic. Now I want to show you how you can use watercolors. I'm just mixing some paint in with some water, and that way I have a wash ready to go so that I can ink several panels at the same time. I've added the pink to, I believe, 3 of my panels at this point, and now I'm going ahead with my yellow cat bed and then the blue window. I probably used a little too much water, and the paper is not watercolor paper. It's just an index card, so it's not absorbing the water very well. But it still looks pretty cool, I think. You can sort of dab it off with a paper towel. I'm just going to be shading over these window frames anyway. So I've let my watercolor dry overnight. This is probably my favorite part, which is tracing over the lines after we've done watercolor. I think the effect looks really cool. Now for some shading after we've watercolored. Here I'm adding a little red to the tongue. The cat is grooming himself in this panel, and that's kind of a small detail that I want to draw the reader's attention to. I've added a little more red to my cat toys, and now I'm bringing all 4 of the panels I worked on together at the same time. The one on the top left I did in colored pencil, and the other 3 I did with watercolors. So that's inking. I have 4 more panels to go, but that's a good start for now. I hope you had fun. I know I did. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.